Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the opportunity to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 119 of Screwball, and of course, as you probably guessed, this episode will be very trade deadline centric, as this episode will go live after the trade deadline ends, and there will be tons and tons of deals to talk about. We already have, as we're recording this, we have deals that are coming through, that have just come through, we're still reacting to. We're going to offer some predictions on who's left. So just trade deadline central podcast this week. Next week will be more of an analysis on where, after the dust settles, where everything lands. So as we're recording this recording on Monday, August 1st, so we still have time to see a lot of big trades. So we have some, but there's only so much we can go into without seeing too far into the future. We're not mind readers, so
being here for 4 hours.
Yeah, so before we get into all that, though, let's start how we usually do with the news pieces. There's only some small pieces of news. So over the weekend, on Saturday afternoon, in an 8-2 victory against the Kansas City Royals, Aaron Judge hit his 42nd home run of the season, which was the 12th home run in his last 14 games. And it was also, coincidentally, the 200th career home run for Judge, which makes him the second fastest player to ever reach 200 home runs, which was only 13 games behind Ryan Howard, who owns the record for fastest 200. Yeah, so, these guys, both him and Ryan Howard, obviously prolific power hitters.
Yeah.
Judge on the little bit of the older side, I guess, for where he's at.
And that's the thing to note with those. I'm not a huge fan with that one because of the games. You like to see more of the youngest.
Right.
And you go, maybe you can go long ways. I don't know how much Judge can go 600-700 home runs, but it's still cool to see how fast he did it. It's not quite the same when you see that youngest home run. You go,
right.
This guy's got a chance at 600-700 home runs.
Exactly.
Judge, I don't know if he's got a chance at even 500. At this point, probably, I don't know.
400
He had to have
something.
some really good years for quite some time to get 500.
Right.
4 something. Definitely get to the 450s if he stays relatively healthy. 500's tough though.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of good home run years. So, but obviously worth noting because his rookie season was in 2017. He broke at the time the rookie home run record, and just getting 200 is a good milestone in itself. You played to hit 200 home runs in the major leagues, no easy feat. So worth
2 more
mentioning.
years like he's doing this year, he might be able to get to 500 or something.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. If he has seasons like this, he could break the record at this point. So, but yeah, definitely worth mentioning with Judge. The only other piece of news I have here is that the San Diego Padres and the all-star right-hander Joe Musgrove agreed to a 5-year contract extension worth $100 million.
And there's another home run.
Judge just hit another home run as we're sitting here, so add to that total.
One off the wall, one over the fence.
Jesus. So he's got 43 now, and that's 201? So on the way.
Second fastest 201, I imagine.
Yeah. I think so.
Be close.
So anyway, back to Joe Musgrove. So he agreed to a 5-year deal with the San Diego Padres worth $100 million. He was originally scheduled to become a free agent this offseason, so they secured him. And on top of throwing the first no-hitter in Padres history, Musgrove has been pretty damn good for the Padres thus far. Probably their best pitcher, all in all, over a 2-year span.
Consistent, yeah.
Yeah. And on top of that, just as an added, that just kind of came through, I think 5 minutes before we sat down to really talk about the episode, Austin Riley for the Braves signed a $212 million 10-year deal. So
well deserved, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's ever worth that much money, but Jesus, that guy's got 30-something home runs this year. No one says a word about him. Last year, second half of the year, the Braves went nuts in the World Series. No one talks about Austin Riley. He is one of the superstars and, I don't know, perennial MVP.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, dude has just been on fire.
In the National League, I'm not sure who you could say has been better than him.
Yeah, really.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much other than the trade deadline other than do we have a home run chase with the guy who just hit his 43rd home run as we're on here talking to Judge. Do we have a chase? AL record, I think that chase is, he's running that down.
Yeah, he's
Right.
he's going to be 18 behind to tie.
Yeah, it's he's got that one coming up. Quick in the rearview mirror for Maris.
Yeah.
Yeah, the all-time one with Bonds and what he did.
Still 30 away, unbelievably.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. He's 30 away from tying it. He's 31 away from breaking it. So he's have to stay on this. That's his 10th home run in 11 games. So he'd have to stay on that pace almost, which I just don't think is humanly possible. Well, we've seen Bonds do it, but
Yeah, but I mean, Jesus Christ, look at the size of him.
Yeah,
I mean, Judge is a big dude, but
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Look how he did it. Yeah, this was just natural being 6'7". The guy was not everything but natural to get there, but still incredible. But do we have a chase? We have an AL chase. Do we have a 73, 74 home run chase? It's something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's the records of Sosa and McGuire. They were in the mid 60s. That's certainly within reach. I think
McGuire
at this
at
point.
70.
Oh yeah, he did hit 70. What was that? That wasn't the 98 season though. It was.
Yeah, it was 98.
Did he get to 70 in the 98 season? Jesus
I
Christ.
think he get 3 home runs or 2 home runs in the last day to get 70 or some crap.
All right, never mind then.
I'm pretty sure he hit 70. But yeah, do we have a chase like that? Yeah, I think we have a shot. 61, yeah, we definitely have a chase.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, other than that, we just have the deadline, which we have many of players. I know Mike has some more details on some of these trades. Spit a couple out. We've seen Josh Hader, believe it or not, from the Brewers for the Padres.
Just today, yeah.
And Taylor Rogers. Or was it Taylor Rogers? Tyler Rogers.
Taylor, I believe, yeah.
So let's just say Hader to the Padres. It's Rogers to the Brewers as well.
Mm-hmm.
The two closers who are leading the league in saves switch teams, and prospects involved there. Luis Castillo traded from the Reds to the Mariners in a relatively early hot stove trade deadline deal. I thought the Mariners. I thought that was quite a big haul. I mean, you have it here. You want to go into it real quick?
So yeah, the Mariners trade. I don't know how to feel about that trade. I don't really love that for the Mariners. So Luis Castillo ended up going to the Reds on Friday, which is kind of
from the Reds.
Or from the Reds, excuse me. Yeah, it was kind of really the first major move. I know we talked last week about Daniel Vogelbach, kind of that trade signifying the official start of the trade deadline almost, but this was really the first major move. So the Mariners sent over 4 prospects to Cincinnati, shortstops Noelvi Marte and Edwin Arroyo, and right-hander Levi Stout and Andrew Moore. So Noelvi Marte
is 18 on the all-time MLB, not the all-time, the MLB prospect list.
Yeah,
he's 18th, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And the other guy was, I think, 80th.
Yeah,
the top one. And then the other guy was like right outside the 100.
They were some of their top prospects. Yeah, top Mariner prospects.
The Mariners, they need to win. They need to get in the playoffs. They need to get that. They needed some pitching. They needed. They have a deep farm system, but boy, oh boy, does this have. Not quite, because the Pirates and Rays with Archer, I just don't think he was really that good of a pitcher to be doing that. But boy, that has it written all over it.
Yeah, it
has
sure
written
does.
all over it.
Yeah,
but Castillo is a better pitcher than Archer was at the time, so it's not going to be complete. But boy, that could be real bad.
But absolutely,
that one was tough. Hader, you got the details for that one too, right?
Yeah, Josh Hader, which was, I would definitely say, because, Luis Castillo being traded, rumored. We'll get into a trade in a second that was rumored as well. But Josh Hader's trade took me by surprise.
It was one of them,
more pie in the sky.
Yeah, could we see it? We could see it. We could see it. We could see Mike Trout traded for a bag of chips, but we don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, right. And especially a Brewers team that's pretty much in the hunt.
Leading the division.
So I'm just not understanding. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. So anyway, so the Padres acquired Josh Hader from the Brewers for Taylor Rogers, Dinelson Lamet, Robert Gasser, and Esteury Ruiz. So Robert Gasser being a pitcher and Esteury Ruiz being an outfielder. They have 2 MLB-ready guys. Taylor Rogers obviously being one of the top relievers throughout the year. And Lamet, for the Padres, kind of having ups and downs. So you get 2 MLB-ready guys there, and then Robert Gasser and Esteury Ruiz kind of take a chance on there. Obviously, prospects, you're always taking a chance. I don't know really how to feel about the trade yet. I don't think it makes much sense for the Brewers unless Rogers and Lamet really command some innings and some ERA. And
yeah, I don't mind the trade for the Brewers to try to strengthen the farm system. That's been bad. and you get a closer who statistically this year has been pretty similar to Hader. I know Hader had an unbelievable start, but let's get right down to it. His ERA is like 4.7 on the year after this bad start or bad go of it. For the Padres, it makes sense. Hader, when red hot, he's game changing, series changing, weeks changing, World Series winning pitcher out of the bullpen when he's going good. Problem is right now he's not. You did have to give up prospects to get him. For the Brewers, I think you lose out a little bit reliever wise. Rogers isn't Hader. When he's going good, when they're both going good, Rogers is 2 ERA. Hader's gonna be 0.
Yeah, literally.
But you get prospects, so it's not the worst thing. I just thought that it was weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It took me by surprise.
They're weird.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if you're the Cardinals and you're a Cardinals fan, you just said yes.
Yeah.
You just said yes because the Brewers, I think, got a little bit weaker, and the Padres, sure, they might have got better, and you are technically chasing the Padres, but they also lost some prospects. I don't know how much of a gain it is unless Hader gets back to, which is not, I'm not saying he can't, so he definitely can. So if he gets going how he was, obviously,
right,
this could be changing, but it's almost a move that doesn't really hurt your chances if you're outside the playoffs as of right yet, but also hurts the chances you just lost 2 prospects. The Padres, the team chasing Soto, the guy the Cardinals are going after.
Right.
So I think if you're the Cardinals or a Cardinals fan, you go, all right, I don't mind that.
yeah, exactly.
Especially for the division, you don't have to worry about the wild card.
Yeah.
For sure for the division.
Definitely.
And for the next year, you don't have to worry about seeing Hader in your division once every 20 games a year.
Yeah, because he's locked down. Other than the month he's had, which he had like a 13 ERA in just the month or something like that. He's locked down. He's probably overall, all in all, over a 4 year span, he's probably the best closer in baseball, really. So
he's got the young Kimbrel, young Papelbon, kind of feel where it's like this guy comes in, all right, here's the game.
Yeah.
Or the Royals bullpen, the end there with Greg Holland in the World Series. I was like, oh, this is about all.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he comes in. It's like, no, it's we don't like our.
We might scratch 1 run off him, but if we're losing by 2, we ain't gonna get 2.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough finish for us. So. Yeah. Overall, a weird trade. I didn't expect it at all, and I guess the rest of the season we'll have to play out to see how that shakes out. But I just don't love that for the Brewers right now. Who knows? Maybe it was a genius move. Maybe Hader is absolutely not himself for the rest of the year and next year, and it works out. But I think at some point he finds it.
Or 2 prospects become really good, so that's what you're. But the Brewers, they gain depth in their prospect pool, which is good.
Yeah, which I guess in both the Padres are really going for it and have to compete with the Dodgers and have to win if they don't get there, they have to compete for a wild card.
Yeah,
so
and the Brewers are staying in it. They're not getting rid of so it's not a bad move. It's just it's like okay, what did you do?
Yeah,
what did you gain and what did you gain? It's like I don't know.
Yeah, it's more. It doesn't. I wouldn't say a wash, but it can be perceived that way.
It doesn't show the successful rate or the success rate in the trade up front, which is kind of what you want to see. Oh, we won this trade, we lost this trade, or why did we do this trade? You don't see it yet,
right?
So that's what kind of makes you question. It's like, oh, we might not know this to the end of the year, or even next year. It's like, I don't know if this worked or not.
Right.
So
yeah, so that's one of the big ones that happened today.
Some other moves we've seen. We did see Andrew Benintendi to the Yankees. I know that was, I think, a 3-player or 4-player deal. The players were a little bit smaller back-end prospects, so we don't really have to get too much into what the Royals got. Royals got pretty decent, haul for him. From free agent to big, just wasn't the top prospect guys, so nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
But we also seen the Yankees get Scott Efros from the Cubs, who I believe has 6 years of control and has been a 2.5, 2.6 ERA over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and they have him till 2027.
Yeah.
And he has a 2.5 ERA this year and
2.6 over the last 2 or 3, 2.5 years. So that's not a bad move, under the radar move.
Mm-hmm.
But
kind of like a Clay Holmes.
Yeah, exactly. What they contributed, but his stats are just showing a little bit better than Holmes was with Pittsburgh, but still his other stats are pretty similar. But we also seen the Yankees go for Frankie Montas and Lou Trevino, which is, I would say, the big trade, right? The third one out of the big players moved, and you have some of the details on that.
Yeah, so the Yankees acquired Frankie Montas and Lou Trevino from the Athletics, so they got a starter and reliever. And in exchange, the A's got J.P. Sears, Ken Waldachuk, and Luis Medina, as well as second baseman Cooper Bowman. J.P. Sears, Ken Waldachuk, and Luis Medina all being relievers / starters. J.P. Sears we saw pitch this year. up at the majors. He started some games. And second baseman Cooper Bowman being the lowest prospect out of these guys. I believe Ken Waldachuk being the highest at the Yankees' 5 prospect.
Yeah.
J.P. Sears I think was their 20th, and Luis Medina hung around the top 10 or top 12 or something to that regard. So the A's getting young pitchers in exchange for their pitchers, so it makes sense there. And the Yankees getting really, in their rotation, a 2-guy, as well as some bullpen depth. And I believe that Montas has control until the end of next year.
Yeah, he's a year and a half.
Yes, so you get him. He's not just a rental for this year. You also get him in your rotation for next year. Yeah. Lou Trevino, I'm not so sure, but either way, you have him until the end of the year. Pretty good reliever who
at times could be really good, and at times he could be pathetic.
Yeah, so I mean, you throw him in there to add the bullpen depth on top of the other bullpen arm you got. I think just makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think good trade for both teams. I think this is actually a fairly even square trade.
I think the A's got 4 players. The more players you get, the better chance it works out.
Yeah.
They got some higher prospects. The Yankees had a deep prospect farm. So getting guys on their top 30 could be, if you're 10th on the Yankees, you could be 7th or 8th on a different team.
Right.
So that's good. So I think the A's did pretty good. The Yankees, obviously, it's a great trade for them. They're getting a guy who everyone thought they were going to get and a guy they needed. So I think that makes sense. Perfect for them. And again, for the A's, I thought it made sense. We got good value, and I think it ended up working out, holding on to him, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Until the season started. So they got good value. So I think that's a pretty good trade. Otherwise, we haven't seen too many big trades yet.
No, nothing. No Juan Sotos.
Yeah, we've seen some smaller trades yet, but we have everything on the verge of going absolutely bonkers here. We have Ohtani still possibly getting traded. The word is he's not going to get moved, but again,
offers
still
were made
on the block, so you never know. Soto, Padres, Dodgers, Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're at. Yankees outside's looking in. That's like your 4 teams, but really it's down to 3. Padres, Cardinals, Dodgers. I think the Cardinals, Padres are the 2 teams. I think the Cardinals are the favorites still. I think it makes a lot of sense for them, and they have just so much MLB right now ready prospects playing. They can get traded to the Nationals.
Yep.
Carlos Rodon was made available. He's the best left-handed pitcher on the market, and he's the only power left-handed pitcher. We've seen how dominant he could be.
Yeah.
Can he go somewhere? So we're going to be on the look. That's going to be a big move. Can that be to the Cardinals? Can that be to Philly? Can that be to the Dodgers? I doubt it. Would be the Giants to the Dodgers, but could that, that's big moves. That's a big guy.
That could be a big Cardinal move.
Yeah, that could be, and anybody, any team gets him, but that's a big move to the White Sox swinging back and get him. Who knows? Jack Peterson, just part of the Giants, we could see him go to the Braves again. That's pretty much what happens, right?
Yeah.
The Red Sox, we've seen Vasquez possibly being moved, right? It's almost
all but confirmed, yeah.
He's going to the Astros.
Yep.
Just switching dugouts because they're playing each other. That's a relatively big move. We got JD Martinez. They said all but he's going to get traded somewhere.
He's on the block.
All but traded, but we just don't know where. Bogarts was told he's not getting traded, but I still think Bogarts gets traded. It's up to him, I think. If he wants to stay with the Red Sox the rest of this year, he stays. If he doesn't, he's gone.
Right.
We see Pablo Lopez getting talked about.
Yeah.
That's a big trade piece for the Marlins. Nelson Cruz, Josh Bell, also from the Nationals, they get moved. The Cardinals, where are they at? If they don't get Soto, I think they make a flurry of moves, 3 or 4 moves to get some pitching, maybe a bat. If they get Soto, maybe they just get a pitcher.
Right.
Dodgers, they're ready to explode somewhere. They're going to go get anybody they want because they got the money.
They could do whatever they want,
prospects, they got the money, they don't care. So they're ready to make a big move. Sean Murphy could get traded. He's, I think, got 4 years of control as a catcher. I know Cleveland was talking to him.
Yeah.
That's a guy that, maybe the Dodgers swing after. Well, not the Dodgers. They got Will Smith. But maybe a team needs a catcher, swing after him. There's teams out there. Cleveland, maybe for the long haul. Not a bad idea. But there's teams out there that can make a swing for him right now. So we'll see there. Joey Gallo's obviously going to get moved.
He's getting traded at some point.
He's useless for the Yankees, but a team could take him who needs some hitting, Rays or something like that, and maybe he snaps out of it a little bit, so it's hitting home runs and it's worth it. The Orioles, where do they stand? We've seen Trey Mancini get traded to the Astros. Do we see Jorge Lopez get traded? Does he get traded to a team like the Cardinals who needs relief help? Does he get traded to a team like the Dodgers? The Orioles kind of holding the keys here to some other pieces. Do they trade Mullins? I don't think so, but do they do it? There's some pieces sitting there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
White Sox, what do they do? I think they don't get rid of people. Maybe if they're a free agent after the year, maybe you can see them moved. Otherwise, White Sox are going to be adding. Brandon Drury, a big piece for the Reds. They already said it, either trade him or sign him to extension. So that's where we're at with that. He's a big piece that get moved. I think the Mariners were interested. I think the Astros were interested. I think the Braves were interested. I'm sure the Dodgers are interested in everybody. I'm sure they're interested in him. We also have Dave Peralta did get moved to the Rays.
Into the Rays,
So we just have a lot of things going on right now. And I mean, these are some big names. Rodon, whatever the Red Sox want to trade. Pablo Lopez. I mean, Nelson Cruz in the past, not quite the same. Josh Bell this year. He's been one of the best hitters. I think he's like fourth in the league and fourth in the National League in average.
As a switch hitter, too.
As a switch hitter with power, and he can play a little outfield. Soto, obviously. Ohtani, obviously. Whatever the Cardinals want to do, whatever the Dodgers want to do. Sean Murphy, just because he's a good catcher and his length of control. Orioles have some good pieces. The White Sox could throw a wrench in everything if they start trading some guys away. I just don't see it happening, but there's just so much that can go on here, and we have little answers. We have the Yankees kind of all but done at this point, I think.
Right.
Unless something falls in their hands. I think the Mariners are looking for a bat, but I think a lot of their moves are done. They could, don't get me wrong, I think the Mariners could swing something with their GM, but they're all but done, right? Unless something crazy happens.
Right.
Padres can go nuts, right? I think the Brewers aren't going to do too much. I think the Angels are not going to blow that up over there. So we're just on the verge. Even though the deadline's tomorrow, and this episode will be up by the time the deadline, and this whole episode will be almost outdated, unfortunately. We're just on the verge of nuts. And it really, a couple of pieces have been falling, but once Soto falls, it goes somewhere or doesn't go somewhere. The deadline, that's when all these moves, the floodgates open and the moves go.
Right. Well, I do have some live trades that, just some smaller trades that are happening. You know, I don't know if you mentioned it, the Christian Vasquez trade, I know you mentioned.
Yeah, mentioned.
But there is, the White Sox acquired lefty Jake Diekman from Boston in exchange for catcher Reese McGuire and a player to be named later. So Red Sox essentially get a catcher back, but give up Jake Diekman, who's actually been, I think, one of their better relievers.
Over the years, he's been good.
Yeah. The Royals are getting Luke Weaver from Arizona.
That's actually a good. Luke Weaver's got some talent.
Yeah. And there was one more here.
Wait, seen Tommy Pham, I think, going to the Red Sox.
And Tommy Pham to the Red Sox is the other one that I had. Yep. So I just checked my phone real quick just to see if there were live trades. Some smaller ones that make little differences, but I think that the White Sox definitely benefit from an added bullpen arm with Jake Diekman. I think that could be a nice move.
Ever since Aaron Bummer went out, they've kind of been hurting there.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's pieces. Does Brian Reynolds get moved? It's all but said that he's probably not going to get moved, but that doesn't mean he doesn't get moved.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to move him.
Superstar pieces that can get moved.
Oh, yeah.
The Mets are still hanging around to make that big move, even though they've traded for just a bunch of low Vogelback, Tyler Naquin. Like, what are you doing? Everyone thinks these are small moves. They're going to make a big move at some point? I don't know at this point. Syndergaard can get moved. That's
Syndergaard's a name, yeah.
We're just sitting on the cusp of absolute, bonkers.
Yeah.
What does Cleveland do? Did I get rid of Plesac? And then there's some outlier moves like we see with Ohtani, right? But that's not, it's talked about. Did the Twins really trade Correa? Could that possibly be because he's really not going to be there long?
No, he only signed like a 3-year deal or something, or 2-year and an opt out or something.
Yeah, Bogarts get traded. These are guys that very odds are it doesn't happen, but doesn't mean someone doesn't come swinging in and say, hey, what about this? And they're like, sure, we're in.
Yeah, right.
So it's exciting. So far, I think Hater Brewers, I don't think anyone really wins that. I think that we're kind of on the same page there. I thought the Yankees had a good deadline so far. The Yankees are, they won. They're part of their deadline so far.
Yeah.
I think the Mariners, got better. I just don't think they won with as much they gave up. And that's pretty much it where we are on the big deals.
Yeah. Red Sox are doing about what we thought they're selling. They are in last.
Yeah.
So that's good for them.
Yep, they're doing their thing. I think everything else is kind of just not ready yet. I think the Rays did a good move at Peralta.
Yeah, they always make some smart moves,
So I just don't think we have seen enough where we could talk into it more. But I think out of the deals we've seen so far, I think we have Yankees won. I think Brewers, Padres are split right now. And I think the Mariners, sure, it helped. I just don't know if it wins, especially Novelli Marte and some of these other guys really turn out how they could be.
Right.
Which you can say that about any prospect trade, but it just seems like it's got that Pirates, Chris Archer, Glass now. It's got that Austin Meadows. It was all part of that trade. It just feels like it's got that written all over it.
Yeah. I agree.
So, but once that Soto domino falls, the market explodes.
For sure.
Whoever loses that goes makes a flurry of moves, especially the Cardinals. They lose that, they make a flurry of moves. The Padres win that. If the Padres win, then what do they do from there on? The Cardinals make a flurry of moves. If the Dodgers win, those two teams make a flurry. The Padres got to make a flurry of moves at that point. The Cardinals will. If the Dodgers don't win that, the Dodgers are going to be in on maybe Rodon or some pitching. So we're just kind of waiting for Soto to fall or possibly Ohtani. Yeah, we're on the verge of some chaos.
Yeah, and as we've been talking about, Soto's the big guy, big man on campus that could be traded, and he makes a difference on a team almost immediately.
He's the biggest player to get traded. We already talked about since A-Rod. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. You know, he's a 23-year-old guy and has wicked talent, and could become a franchise guy. So
and he's just heating up.
Yeah.
Since July, I think he had 360 or something in July, so he's just getting going on the home run derby. I mean,
yeah, and what's kind of scary almost is that if he's 23, imagine what he could be doing at 27 years old with more years under his belt, kind of hitting his prime.
Yeah, just getting bigger, filling himself out.
Yeah.
Whatever he wants to do, he's on the verge of being one of the best players you're ever going to see.
And not for nothing, but you know, the team that's going to get him is giving a haul for him. They're not just going to give him up. So imagine then what the Nationals get. It'll work out both ways.
You have him under control without even signing him through 2025.
Yeah.
You don't even have to think about signing him right away.
Right. So yeah, and I know the report was that the Nationals were going to make an offer, one final offer. I don't know if that transpired or if that was just a rumor or what happened there. They did offer him good money, but you know, obviously he wants to be elsewhere. It seems, and
you can't blame him for wanting to be on a contending team.
No,
the Nationals, I just don't think are consistent contenders.
And not for nothing, if he's not a free agent for a few years, that mark is only going to go up on him, especially if he bets on himself and he plays well.
In the best trade markets now.
Yeah.
The more years you have control of somebody, the more you get.
Yeah.
So if you wait till he's a free agent, that's Juan Soto. You'll get your money essentially. You'll get your players, but you get them now. You get an extra prospect or two, or two real high prospects instead of one. So this is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this is going to go live after all this has transpired, but we're offering our thoughts to start, you know, and see where everything lands, and then we'll come back the next week with where the dust settles and where we're at. So
we'll see already some of these players already play for their teams, so we'll have an idea, at least an initial idea of who won this deal. You know, we'll have an idea of what happens.
Yeah.
Once you see them in their uniform and you go, okay, now look at the team. Look how they already used them. It gives you a better idea. Go, okay, now we know how they're going to use him instead of being like, I don't know what they do with him.
Right.
You see it once or twice, you go, okay, I see what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll come back with more on the trade deadline, but for now, that's what's been traded, some live trades I just gave, and some predictions. So on from there, that was our topic of discussion, obviously, with, you know, it being August 1st. It should be.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the wrap-up of the news section and the top of the show, which is who's doing the best right now. So the Yankees own the best record in the league at 69-34, while the Astros are second in the American League at 67-36. Over in the National League, the Dodgers have the best record at 68-33, while the Mets have the second best record at 64-37. The Yankees own the best run differential in the league at plus 207, and the Nationals still own the worst at minus 168. So those are your best teams in the league, and the Nationals, after trading Soto, probably not contributing to that run differential.
Probably Josh Bell getting traded.
Yeah,
so
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, some teams, hot teams: Blue Jays, A's, Mets, Brewers, Cubs, Dodgers been playing well. Cold teams: the Rays, Red Sox, Marlins, Pirates, Giants, and Rockies. So there's some hot and cold teams I want to throw out there.
Yeah. From there, let's move on to the who's hot and who's not player section of the show. So I don't have for the second week in a row, Judge won the AL Player of the Week. I mean, he's just been on an absolute tear with the home runs. The average, I think he was sitting around the 300s, but the home runs, obviously, as we talked about before, he's been absolutely destroying the baseball. So worth mentioning, I don't have him here, but he was the Player of the Week. And I believe Merrill Kelly was the NL Player of the Week. I don't have him, obviously, because Frank usually brings the pitchers. So the 5 hot players I have for the week, in no particular order, are number 1, Francisco Lindor, batted .556 over the last week with an .889 slugging and a .1525 OPS. Number 2, Brendan Rodgers had a .522 average, a .609 slugging, and .1169 OPS. Number 3, Anthony Santander had a .478 average, a .913 slugging, and a .1433 OPS. Matt Chapman, who's been absolutely electric the last 2 or 3 weeks.
1,600 OPS, I think, over the last 3 weeks, right?
So for just this week, He had a 471 average, an 1176 slugging, and a 1747
I
OPS.
think he's about 1,600 OPS over his last 17 or 18 days.
It's like the dude has just been finally
Good.
really
Good for him.
because he's really offensively has not been good.
For 2 years.
It's actually became really troubling. So he's finally hitting. Good for him. The 1747 OPS for a week is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And then number 5, I have Christian Yelich, who we haven't often seen on the hot list for a while. He batted 450 over the last week with a 650 slugging and a 1227 OPS. So some unfamiliar names like Matt Chapman and Christian Yelich, but
Yeah.
names that years past would have been on the list.
Yeah,
a lot.
I got some of these guys. I have some of those same guys on my list here. Real quick though, with Yelich, what's alarming with him is he isn't a hitter-friendly ballpark as we've seen. He won MVP, and it's the kind of constant back issues and the lack of power over about 3 years now. He doesn't hit home runs. I think he has 9 this year. That is very, very concerning. I don't know what happened. He has had a better hitting year this year and looks a little bit better at the plate, but his power really is sapped, and that's alarming for a guy. I think that's 26 or 27 or maybe 28, the oldest. It's just very weird. I don't know what's going on. And it could be that back injury, which is consistent back injury at his age is really not good.
Yeah, I mean, look at in a lot worse scenario, but look at Trout.
Yeah. At least he's a little older, but still, where we are, that's where we're at. So some guys I want to add to that: Alec Bohm, absolutely nuts. Mm-hmm. Alec Bohm's been going absolutely nuts, getting hits wise. Power still not quite there, but he's like batting like 400 over his last like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
it's something nuts. And Randall Grichuk, who we haven't heard from at all year. At Toronto, we seem like he used to be hot and cold all the time. We haven't heard from nothing, but he's been hot over the last week or so out there in Colorado. So that's good to see that he's still hanging around and playing good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some pitchers, Miracella, obviously. Brady Singer, pitcher well. Jameson Taillon. Carlos Carrasco had a great start. Tyler Anderson's been great all year. And Emmanuel Clase has been nuts. I think he gave 1 run since the middle of May. So there's some hot pitchers there. Emmanuel Clase, I think it's 1 run since May 20th.
No, definitely contributing to that good year for the Guardians.
Yeah, he's going absolutely nuts. And a lot of his saves of late have been pretty 1, 2, 3. In and out. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Not even like fighting around. Just like, okay, 10 pitches, see you later.
Yeah, he's got wicked stuff, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and he's got confidence.
Yeah.
To do it, which is the biggest thing.
True.
We've seen with Edwin Diaz. All of a sudden, he got some confidence, and you see the Edwin Diaz come back. The best version of Edwin Diaz you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really. It's crazy. So from there, let's go to the cold players of the week, the who's not section of the show. So number 1, Josh Donaldson, batted .083 over the last week with a 125 slugging and a 208 OPS. Just has not performed this year at all. Number 2, Jared Walsh, an .043 average over the last week, an .043 slugging and a 197 OPS. I believe he has underperformed this year as well. I mean, it's the Angels, so.
So it goes.
Number 3, JD Martinez, .091 average over the last week with a 182 slugging and a 342 OPS. I believe he's had a bad month, 2 months. He's had it rough. I don't know if that'll hurt his trade stock, but worth noting.
He missed a couple games too with some injuries, so he could be just kind of fighting for those still.
That's true. That's a good point. Number 4, CJ Cron, batted .050 over the last week with an .050 slugging and a 100 OPS, so not great from him, who has pretty much all year been pretty steady with that Rockies team. And number 5, Jeremy Pena, what was the rookie of the year until Julio Rodriguez did his thing. Batted .056 over the last week with an .056 slugging and a 199 OPS. So some big names, honestly, on that list.
Yeah.
For cold players.
And I got 2 more to add. Jorge Polanco. Struggled a little bit late. And oddly enough, you had Pena on that list, who I also had. Correa. It's been cold. So the guy they essentially let Correa walk for, they kept Pena, the prospect. They're both cold in the same week. So that's just how it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Some pitchers that have been struggling. Jordan Montgomery, Joe Ryan, Garrett Cole. His last 2 starts, I believe, he have 9 runs combined. His last 2 starts against being the Orioles and Royals. So it's something to look for. Shane McClanahan, we've seen him kind of get beat up a little bit in the All-Star game. He's been cold of late with his last start or 2.
Yeah.
And Scott Barlow got beat up mostly by the Yankees, but he's given up some runs here, and he's been red hot all year.
Yeah.
So there's some pitchers there to take note of who've been struggling. Other than that, we got the injuries section. We always bring it's not too bad, but we have Mike Zunino done for the year, Kevin Kiermaier done for the year for the Rays. Zunino, he's a tough guy, so it's a little surprised to see him done. Kiermaier, that's how it goes every year. Trevor Story, I believe they said he has a hairline fracture now in his wrist, and he's going to be shut down until about mid-August before he can even start getting going again. So that's whatever the Red Sox had that's pretty much saps it.
Yep.
Julio Rodriguez, he did get hit by a pitch. We've seen the Mariners retaliate with a pitch up into Altuve.
Yep.
If you liked it or not, whatever. But Julio Rodriguez hit by a pitch. He's got a contusion. Thank the good Lord that it's not broken. We should see him back shortly. Mackenzie Gore, elbow injury. They said it's not serious. Another one. Thank the Lord there.
Yeah.
That's not too serious. We've seen Stanton placed on the IL with the Achilles. He's already doing baseball activities. We should see him back pretty shortly. Mike Trout, we had his back degenerative, whatever they have with the back. He's always going to deal with it. It's some rare disease. They say it shouldn't be too bad, but it's something he'll have to deal with. He's expected to come back here pretty soon, but he has a back issue that he's probably going to deal with the rest of his life. So that's how that is. And Ty France, MRI. He's going to be getting an MRI. I think he got an MRI. He's hurt. So the Mariners, all of a sudden, whoever he is, Ty France, your two best players, going to be hurt for at least a little while.
Yeah.
So could be worse news out of these, but we could have better news, especially with Trout. We don't really know how that's going to play out, but I think it should be all right. But news
hopefully.
Could be worse. On the better side of things, Zach Manoah hit by a comebacker in the elbow. He was in pretty serious pain. Next day, he said he felt pretty good. He's going to pitch. That's the idea. He said all of a sudden next day, he was like, I didn't know how he wake up. He woke up. He said he felt just fine, just a little bruise.
Yeah.
So he should be fine. Severino is progressing. He did get placed on the 60-day or switched to the 60-day IL, but he's progressing. Hope is by September he's ready to go. Kike Hernandez is supposed to be doing rehab here pretty shortly. Luis Robert was on a rehab assignment. He should be coming back soon. Lance McCullers pitching at AAA, so he should be back soon. Kirby Yates is progressing. DeGrom's supposed to pitch tomorrow, Tuesday. He's supposed to be back for the Mets. We'll see how long that lasts. He already, again, said he was opting out, so we'll see what happens there. I just don't feel like DeGrom's going to last long. And any sort of injury, he's always pulled himself out, which is not a bad thing. But with money coming, I just don't see him pitching much.
Right.
And Mets. Freddie Peralta back for the Brewers. Yadier Molina is supposed to be back this week for the Cardinals, which is huge. Brian Reynolds was activated from his injury, and he was on NA, or you should say paternity leave. He's back from that as well. Tatis, he got the green light to swing, so hopefully he's back in the next couple of weeks. And Andrew Heaney activated for the Dodgers. So we do have some big names there back, or not as hurt as they should have been, or going to be back here shortly. So that's injury news. Relatively good.
Yeah. I'd say probably one of the more noteworthy ones, Trout having that problem with his back, because, it could be something he's dealing with the rest of his career. We'll see where that plays out, because it's going to be a waiting game type thing. He said he's going to be back this year. That remains to be seen, because the Angels are so bad. Do they just hold him out and say, well, maybe not? Or does he really come back and say, hey, I can play. I'm good. So we'll see what happens there. But other than that, injury's not too bad, and that's always a good thing. So nothing, really worth overly worrying about, which is always, a good thing there.
Yeah.
For a lot of teams.
Especially with those generation talents. So, and the last thing I got here, I know, oddly enough, we talked about some home runs with Judge early, but the trivia question has nothing to do with home runs. So, the trivia question from 1980 to 1991, Ricky Henderson led the AL in stolen bases each year except for one, 1987. He did not lead the AL, American League, in stolen bases. Who beat him that year?
It's a good one.
And the answer is Harold Reynolds for the Seattle Mariners had 60 stolen bases. He beat Ricky Henderson. So from 1980 to 1991, Ricky Henderson led the American League in stolen bases except for 1987, where Harold Reynolds beat him. So that's your trivia question. I thought it was just, we see Harold Reynolds, MLB Network, we see him around. He's a relatively name people know. Ricky Henderson's obviously the greatest stolen base guy MLB's ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was unbelievable that he led the league 10 out of 11 years, 1980 to 1991, except for 1987 where he only played 95 games. It's just incredible. It's incredible. He broke the record in those years, but the one year he didn't. I think he still had, we looked up 40-something, 50 stolen bases that year, which now would lead the league by plenty.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the one time he didn't, Harold Reynolds did it, so it's, it's like, well, I was the one guy that beat Ricky Henderson once. At least, we don't talk about how we did it, but
feather in his cap,
Yeah, so, I thought that was just pretty cool to see, and we did see some stolen bases kind of coming back a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I just thought it was, it was pretty cool. Talk about, we do a lot of home run trivia questions, so I thought no one talks about stolen base. Why not talk about that?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is, too, especially those years, Ricky Henderson pretty much had it locked up, obviously, except for that year. So, in those years, it's kind of hard to talk about anyone else, Except the greatest of all time to steal bases.
And it's funny because 1991 he led the AL still in stolen bases, right? He led the whole American, the whole major league some of these years as well. But again, he played all the way to 2002, 2003. He was still playing, and he was still stealing bases. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, he had a long career, and
I don't think he ever technically retired either, even though they did put him in the Hall of Fame. But I think he was one of those guys that David Wells is, where he never technically signed a paper, handed it in, but he's retired.
Yeah, but obviously he's not coming back. I wouldn't think.
You gave him a chance, he'd go back, and he'd probably steal 20 bases.
Yeah, probably.
That's what he does.
Yeah, that's true.
He's never going to count himself out.
No.
He was a showman, and he was a very nice guy, but he could steal some bases, and he was going to tell you about it.
Yeah, oh yeah. He loved it, too. So.
Yeah, but he was the best at it.
Yeah.
If you're the best at it, you can talk a little smack.
Yeah. When you're
the best at something, you can talk a little smack.
And you pretty much know your record's not going to be broken.
No.
So that always helps.
No. And if someone gets close to it and break it, he'll probably try coming back and stealing some bases.
Yeah.
Like Mr. 3000, the movie. He'll just come back and start doing things.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, for now, that's all I got with the trade deadline stuff. Nothing really to, keep, belaboring the point with the trades. So
we're held up just as much as a lot of teams are.
Yeah. So I mean, who knows? It's 8:00 now. We could stop recording in an hour, and Juan Soto's traded, and all of a sudden this episode is already behind the 8 ball with Juan Soto. But I mean, that's just the nature of the beast with the trade deadline. There's going to be last minute moves, like I know you said in previous weeks. Like there's going to be a trade at 6:00 that's past the deadline already, and the trade came in just a minute before the deadline somehow.
The Verlander was a minute before, but somehow no one knew about it until 4:30.
Yeah.
Break.
So
Greinke
for now,
even after that year. So it's like it's crazy. The deadline is nuts, and it's exciting, and we're gonna see it all tomorrow when superstars on the move.
Yeah, absolutely. So for now, that's all I got without going too more into it. But next week we'll come back with the final results of everything. So
yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, we're excited for it. Next week should be exciting. And on a small note, me, Mike, a couple buddies, we were heading out west or Midwest. We're gonna go see the Cardinals this weekend, play the Yankees, and the Royals play the Red Sox. So we're gonna go on our baseball stadium trip for the first time in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll come back. We'll have some notes to spit about those stadiums in person. So we'll have those little bit of insight on our trip there, and we'll have the trade deadline. So we're excited. This is a pretty exciting week for us as a whole.
Yeah, it's exciting. We got our vacation and get to see some stadiums, especially Busch Stadium we wanted to see. So
and some museums out there, the really Hall of Fame. So just an exciting trip.
Yeah,
ready to get out there and really see it and see some of these good teams and some new players.
Yeah, really. Maybe Juan Soto will be there. So that's what I'm banking on.
And Attendee's going to be there, just not in the game we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll still see him anyway. So, but that's all I got. So unless you got anything else you want to finish up with, could wrap this up.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Lepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E and Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.